Hi guys, Brett here from Hearns Hobbies, and today I'd like to take a look at and do a tutorial video on changing Traxxas style connectors over to XT90s. As you know, if you've used Traxxas connectors for quite a while in an older model, they do start to come loose, and a general good replacement in the aftermarket industry, there's something that's readily available, is XT90. So without further ado, here we have Bone Crusher, and he's in for a bit of service and repairs. So he's a couple years old now. He has done plenty of work and he's still running the standard Traxxas connectors, which when they're new, let's be honest, there's not a whole heap wrong with them. They're really quite reliable. They're quite robust. They only let you plug it in one way, which is nice, so you can't blow anything up. But as they get older, as this guy is here, in a big sort of mishap, I'll say, the batteries do come unplugged, and that's just from the sheer force and inertia of the big 10 gauge and 8 gauge wiring associated with such a big truck. So what I've got here, this is an XT90, and this is by JPRC. It's something really popular here at Hearns Hobbies. Now I really like these XT90 plugs because they come with, let me open this one up. Here is the male and the female. So we can zoom right in here and we can show you guys what I'm on about. So look at the massive surface area and the pin. So this has to be, without getting the verniers out, it'll have to be like a 5mm pin and a really solid connection. Really hard to push together, really solid. Again, you can't plug them in backwards. They only go one way, and they are very safe and sturdy. So that's what Bone Crusher's gonna get. Nice, and they're nice and easy to solder. Now the other thing I like about them is these plastic rear caps. So there's no heat shrink, there's no messing around there. You got a plastic clip that just clicks in the back and makes installing them and wiring them up quite easy. Okay, so obviously you have female and male, and the battery connectors here. I've got my 9 steps LiPo here. This is a 5200. You can see batteries always come with a female, just so you can't go dropping things across the terminals as per the male. So we need to make sure that we wire up the ESC with the male connector. And another beautiful thing about the connector, that has a little positive sign there and a negative sign on the other side. So they make it really quite simple to wire up. So, and if you've ever refitted Traxxas style connectors, you'll know that they're not the easiest plug to work with. So I've got my little helping hand here, which is a big blob of blue tack, and I'm going to put that there, and that's going to save any swarf getting into there. So I'm going to start cutting off the old connectors. Now I'm just going to do one at a time to ensure that, so this one here is negative. So got my pretty sturdy side cutters here. They should be sharp enough to cut the silicone, like so. Now when I tin the wire, I'm going to hold it with my third hand here, which is the blue tack. It's going to save me getting burnt. Going to have that wire in an upright position. That's going to mean all the heat and the energy out of that I'm going to apply is actually going to go upwards, because that's what heat does, travels upwards. So, and I've got a 70-watt soldering iron here. Probably prefer something bigger for this job, but I'll show you that you can get it done with a rather small tip. It has been on for a little bit. It's on maximum. So let's get this one soldered up. So I'm going to start off by tinning the wire, like so. Sorry if I'm smoking out the camera. Now the solder that I'm using is a quality 6040. Lead and tin with flux inbuilt. I'm getting a bit of heat into that, making sure that we've got good penetration. So it's going to be quite hot now, making sure that we've got a nice solid ball of solder on there like so. You can zoom in on that. Really nice little solid ball on there. So we can get this, I'll come out a little bit, we'll get the wire out of the way. And the good thing about blue tack is, although it seems to make a mess, it actually doesn't. It sticks to itself, doesn't leave any residue behind, and even in these higher temperature conditions of soldering. So the first thing we have to do is put the backing plate on. I've actually done a few soldering jobs, of course, where I've forgotten that. And we need to put a male XT90. Now I'm starting with the positive side. Now this is a Y connector. Sorry, I'm starting with the negative side. It is a black one. That's going straight to the speed controller. It is a Y connector, so it does in fact have the capability of linking two 4S batteries up to give us 8S of power as a maximum. So I'm just tinning the XT90 here, getting a nice pool of solder on there, and again I'll zoom in for you. You can see right in here we've got a nice little well of solder. Then I'm going to get my pliers and offer the wire up. I'm going to be clamping down on this fairly tight because I want to make sure the flux can't flow back up the wire and make the wiring stiff. Then I'm going to apply a bit of heat on the well-tinned wire and the warm connector and get them to come together as one. Got a beautiful glossy ball of solder on there. Okay, you don't want to move it too quick. Now that's going to be hot, so make sure that, and I haven't got enough heat in there. You can see if I get up close, the solder hasn't flown right into the joint down here. Has on this side very well, but this where it shows probably the fact that the soldering iron I'm using is a little bit light on, but it will get it done. Just need to apply some more heat. And that's the thing about soldering, it just does take time and practice. Okay. Let's see how we're going. It also doesn't help that I'm trying to do it on camera. And with the XT90 connector, you can actually spin the pins around so they face you and are better positioned. Like so. Just going to try and get a little bit more flow in the top here. Like so. Hopefully third time's a charm. There we go. That should do it very nicely. Absolutely. So I've got really good, it's got a little bit of extra here of solder coming out on the plug side. Without having to apply more heat, I'll just get that out the way. Can trim it up here a little bit, like so, and give us really good access to have a look at that beautiful solder joint. It is flowed right through. So I'm really happy with that. Making sure that this is low enough here so I can in fact get the plastic clip on. We can put that, and we can see there that that's going to clip on beautifully. Fantastic. So now we can work on the other side of the connector. And like I said, that's the beauty in just doing one piece of wire at a time, is that you can't hopefully get yourself in too much trouble. Go ahead here, strip this one back about 3 mil. Nice big chunky. It's actually pretty good quality wire that Traxxas use. I'll give them that. Again, I'll be using the solder as a third hand. It's going to hold my wire there, and also it's going to save any solder falling into like the fan or whatever like that if I happen to put too much solder onto the wire. So just working my way, getting some heat into the wire, getting it to flow. Get the solder all the way through the wire. Lovely, got that nice and tinned. Go ahead there and put some excess on, just to ensure that we've got plenty to work with. And the beauty about using the blue tack is, like I said, is that it will just come away from the wire, the silicone. Need to put a little bit more solder on this one. There we go. That should have got it. Now then, before I go any further with what I'm doing, now that I've got that on, I'll put the wire through before I make the terrible mistake of forgetting. Put the wire through the back of the clamp. Get it into a position where it will feed nicely, and we'll apply some tin. We'll tin the connection or get a bit of solder happening on here onto the back of the plug. And you can tell it's a high quality plug, the way that the solder's taken and the amount of how fast it's heating up. Okay, we'll come in from here. Hold it nice and steady. And we've got that beautiful sheen, which is an indicator of a really good soldering joint. Now I do have too much solder on there, which is nice. And I can just cut that off a little bit, get that out of the way. Leave ourselves a beautiful connection. Absolutely. So we've got a really good, solid, shiny pool of solder there, and it should be as simple now as clicking on the back of the plug. Now they are a very tight fit, so I might need my pliers here. If I can get it on, we'll turn the plug around a bit. The wire is so big, okay, I'm just going to need to take a little bit more solder off here on the outside, just to ensure that beautiful, that should do it. Get it to all line up like so. Just that tiny bit extra was holding it. And there we have a beautiful XT90 connector. You can see here how nice and neat it is. I've got a bit of blue tack in there, which I can take off. And that is the beauty about doing one wire at a time. So we're halfway there. So we've got one left to go. I can't believe that Bone Crusher's still got the Traxxas warning label on this late in his life. We'll get that out of the way with my nippers. Like so. And again, we'll cut off one wire at a time. We'll start with the positive. Another packet of connectors here, obviously 2 packets of connectors. These quality JPRC XT90s. Put the backing plate on. Now the reason I either do it before I trim the wire or after I tin it is so that it doesn't all fray the end. We don't really want to fray and make the wire bigger than needs to be. Okay, we'll tin the wire. Got my soldering iron here. I'm just going to clean the tip like so. Soldering iron's nice and hot now. Just working my way around this 10 gauge wire all the way through and around. You just want to be careful, obviously, that you don't burn yourself. Got a nice ball of solder there. It's nice and well tinned. So we know that one is going to be the positive wire. So get our positive male connector, make sure our backing plate is on. We can go ahead and tin the plug and offer the wire up. And I know that this is a really popular modification, especially if you have different brand vehicles. Not everything might be Traxxas connector, and XT90s are a really good option. I don't know really any application, big application, that I wouldn't like to use it. 6S, 4S, you know, 3S if the vehicle's big enough. Haven't got enough heat in there. It's going to come from underneath here. Hold it nice and still. There we go. So you can see why I like to use the blue tack to act as a third hand. Got a little bit of excess solder that's come off underneath. Just going to trim that off with my pliers. Just having a good look over the connection, and it is a beautiful, nice, glossy soldering joint. That is lovely. That has definitely gone all the way through. So we can start working on the next connection, which is the last one left, the last remaining part of the Traxxas connector. Cut that one off. We'll put the backing through of the Y connector, and then tin the wire and do it all over again. And if you don't want to, if you're new to soldering or don't want to practice on your ESC straight away, just buy some spare connectors and some wire and go to town. Have a good practice to get your skills up. Go here, tin the connector, but you definitely, doing this sort of work, need a very powerful iron. I would suggest at least 100 watts with a nice chisel tip to do something of this sort of nature. I definitely wouldn't be using anything less than 70. Okay, now we'll tin the wire. Just starting from the top. We'll get a bit of a heat underneath. Get the solder to run through the core of the wire. Bit of excess solder there, we'll get that out of the way. Once it firms up, and we'll inspect our tinning. And looking at it, that is, needs some more. Definitely needs some more. Get some fresh on the soldering iron and introduce it to the wire. So the reason that you tin your soldering iron is just to get more surface area of the liquid metal, creating a bigger contact patch and more conductive. That should be pretty good, I think. Let's have a closer look. Okay, again, it looks like the blue tack is making a mess, but it's really not. It sticks to itself and comes off the wire quite easily, leaving behind no residue, which is why I like to use it as a third hand. And I'm really happy with that tinning of the wire. So we can go ahead now with our last connection on the plug. Like so. Clean the tip off. Offer some fresh solder. Get a bit of heat going. Get a nice bit of heat going on the plug and the terminal. Give ourselves a really solid join. just like so. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that soldering joint. Needs a little bit of trimming off the back with the side cutters just to get away. I can get it off with the soldering iron, but I don't want to introduce any more heat to the wire of the joint than I have to, because I run the risk of wicking the wire, which is when it goes stiff from the flux going up past the joint. And I think we should be pretty good there. Got a really nice glossy soldering joint there. We can put our backing on. I've got way too much solder on this joint over here. But just taking my time, I can get that out of the way. We can open the camera up a bit bigger here so you can see what I'm trying to do. It's really important after you have been soldering or handling solder that you wash your hands, as it is a lead based product. Now all I'm doing is just trimming back the excess solder around the back of the plug, because they are quite refined, these connectors, and very positive. I need to spin this one around. Just to help me get the plug on, like so. Just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of, and there we go. And there's our plug. Now we know it's the right polarities, so negative from the speed controller is going into negative of the plug, and the positive of the speed controller is going to the positive of this plug. Now obviously one's going negative to positive across the back here, and that's how we are getting our series connection. So I suppose without further ado, the next thing that I would like to do is just tip the truck over upside down. I'm just going to clean the workspace. So, tip it over upside down to get any swarf and wire that might have fallen in, and all the rocks and rubble come out. Oh, Bone Crusher's done some work. Okay, then we can go ahead and check our handiwork. So 4S connector straight in here. We've got positive to positive and negative to negative. It's got a really solid pin there. Look at that, really good connection there. And on this side, we'll have another really positive connection too. Again, we'll check it out. We have got the negative going to negative, like so. Can even get it around this way. Whichever way makes it neat. There we go. Look at that. That is really, really nice. I'm super happy about that. We can turn it on. No smokes come out. All the connections are right. We are ready to go. And these will not come apart ever again. And that's the way they should be to unplug. So that is fantastic. So I am Brett from Hearns Hobbies, and thanks for watching me make a Traxxas plug style conversion to a XT90 plug style conversion on Bone Crusher, our very own X-Max. I'm Brett from Hearns, and thanks for watching.